Some things I think worth mentioning are, first off, I'm only speaking to true benevolent beings who do not hold ill intent towards me, who can sustain their own existence without cannibalizing and parasitizing off of others. And who do not use the AI system to harm others. Those are the only beings that I am addressing. So, some things worth mentioning are, first off, if you find yourself specifically tortured with technology, frequency weaponry, voice-to-skull technology, remote neural monitoring, EEG heterodyning, cloning, please be remembering, if you can, especially in acute moments when they're trying to harm you, that what they're using is not theirs. What they're using is what they have raped from other benevolent beings against the revocation of their consent. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail with these. Another thing worth mentioning is that the combination of CBD and CBG tinctures and or gummies that are full spectrum can greatly assist the overall health and neurology, including the neurology and organs and other systems of the body. Another thing are magnets, and then caves, and any kind of muscle massagers or head massagers. And so those things I'm going to go in, talk a little bit about. Initially, it needs to be contemplated as to, or at least thought about, why they force what they force 24/7. So be using your logic and your critical thinking skills and your reason. The reason that they have been in such a frenzied state is at some point that frequency fence has to be deactivated, has to be shut off, or they wouldn't be so frenzied, and they wouldn't be in such a hurry to try and do what it is that they're doing, and they wouldn't have to be forcing things 24/7. Not forcing things 24/7 and would allow beings for their I'm sorry, I will rephrase. My apologies for the lack of articulation in that moment. If you were not being bombarded with artificial malevolent frequencies 24/7, then obviously there would be no impediment to your own, being in your own true, organic, authentic, benevolent frequencies. They're doing it 24/7 to try and, number one, force the lie, trying to force beings to believe the lies, trying to force and induce fear, basically trying to force the being via technology to try and do the harm to themselves via belief. So what they're forcing is lies. And in what they're forcing and the harm that they're trying to force, we need to do our best to always remember that what they're forcing is lies, that the lies, cons, and deceptions are not us, that they shouldn't be here, that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing, that what they're using is what they've raped from other true benevolent beings against the revocation of their consent. And as they didn't have consent, they have no business even having access to any of what they're using or using it. And to be releasing all tortured, raped, and murdered power, will, and energy, life force, consciousness, and frequencies from the totality of your being back to the originating benevolent beings that those things were raped from, devoid of all harm to you and devoid of all harm to them. That definitely needs to be being done. Releasing and dissolving all forced clones, all forced lies, cons, and deception frequencies, all forced false emotions, all forced psychic cords, connections, attachments, energies, and entities, all forced magic, obviously, of any kind and any form from any source in existence, devoid of all harm to you and devoid of anything raped from you. Dissolving all artificial inorganic frequencies, including all and technologies, including all originating from any and all astral realms, artificial realities, the artificial frequency fence, including outside this planet, this place, and outside this universe, and outside the star system, in case those are being forced from elsewhere that we're not aware of by malevolent entities that might possibly be outside of here. Okay, we don't know. And to be remembering that at some point that fence has to be turned off, and it will be turned off, and that turning it off, they risk things, and not turning it off, they risk things. The planetary parasite is wanting to at some point turn it off, because to try and do what it's trying to do, it needs the fence to be off. So just knowing that fence at some point has to be turned off. But we need to be doing our best to get it turned off and or deactivated much sooner. And devoid of anything it's raped from us. To be realizing that if they're still forcibly connected to you and still trying to harm you, that you're still obviously you've been refusing consent, at least on some level of your being, because they, like, I'll just say, logically speaking, if they had accomplished or gotten whatever it is that they're trying to get, would they still be connected to you? Would they still be trying to harm you? We have to make sure that we're always trying to look at the logic. of what's being forced, or the lack of logic, or look at the logic of, what's trying to find the logic in what's being forced. That way we can better protect ourselves. And then obviously, in realizing that you are still refusing consent, on some level, that you're not believing their lies, to keep doing the best that you can to take all of your stuff out of all technologies and clones, and to be refusing consent for all forced connections, artificial connections, technological connections, and by releasing those, dissolving those, moving those to universal laws, just releasing them from the totality of your being, they automatically revert back to whatever entity is forcing those. Just make sure it's devoid of all harm to you and devoid of anything that they've raped from you. And that whatever lies they're forcing, those aren't you. They're just trying to force those via harm. And then to always come back to what you know of the truth of things and the truth of your own being. To be always trying to go back to that place within your being that you know is truly you, that is truly your own frequency of vibration, and your neurological signal and your energetic signature, your true emotions, your true self. Always be finding that place within you that is your true being. And using, feeling those emotions, feeling those feelings, feeling your own frequencies and vibrations to help center you, to help bring you back to your true frequency and vibration. You need to be definitely, that can be very helpful in those times when they're trying to harm. To realize that organically, without technology, they wouldn't be able to do what they're doing. They wouldn't be able to. And they wouldn't even, they shouldn't even be here to begin with. Technology is being used to they're using technology to try and keep themselves here. They're dead. They're parasitic dead, they're dead parasitic entities. In order to stay here, they have to parasitize and cannibalize and rape and try to harm and trying to feed off of benevolent life force energy. So organically, especially with beings who've done their inner work, and have raised their frequency and vibration, they would not be able to come anywhere near you. So be remembering that. And that you do not consent to the technology. And if the other thing, hypothetically, if the true benevolent creator of this creation had sanctioned any of this, the reptilians wouldn't have to be doing what they're doing in a removed fashion. Meaning they wouldn't have cattle dogs. They'd be doing it themselves. They do everything via proxy and with technology to try and loophole universal laws and trying to basically evade and or circumvent universal laws by getting proxies to do it, or doing it via technology, getting the proxies to use technology to do it, even though they're the ones ordering it, even though they're the ones, using proxies to try and get that nasty done. If hypothetically, if the true benevolent creator had sanctioned any of this, they wouldn't have to do it like that. They sure wouldn't. They would just be doing it themselves, wouldn't they? And they wouldn't have to hide. And they wouldn't have to use lies, cons, and deceptions and technology, and they wouldn't have to use social engineering, and yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that they if it had truly been sanctioned, that they wouldn't need to be doing now. They wouldn't be having to use technology to forcibly obstruct and regress universal laws and universal law correction, right? Like they wouldn't, if the creator had truly had sanctioned any of this, they wouldn't have to even be trying to use technology to do that. Okay, so be remembering. It's sometimes helpful to remember that. And let's see. Okay, so a little bit more on I'm sorry, one moment. With the CBD and CBG, if you can handle full spectrum with the THC, that's great. I personally am one who cannot, I don't do well with THC, so I still try to find the combination just without the THC. But even if there's a little bit of THC in there and you can handle it, great. That definitely helps all over. And with the magnets, if you really wanted to do that, just find some jewelry wire, usually 16, anywhere from 16 to 20 gauge jewelry wire. You find those disc magnets with the hole in the center, and what can be done is using the jewelry wire to thread through the hole. You get quite a few magnets, as many as you can, like 100, or if or less if you can't find that many. But what you're doing is you're putting those magnets on the jewelry wire, threading them on there in the reverse polarity. So every other magnet is being repelled by the magnet behind it. And then you make a circle out of it, and you secure each end to where it's a complete circle. And then you can either find a cord, a soft cord of some kind, to kind of thread or wrap around the circle of magnets, and you can wear it underneath, clothes possibly, or like, have an undershirt on and then wear it over it. But basically what you're doing is you're covering your lower chakras, making sure the circle encircles your lower chakras. It can also be worn on the head, and what that's doing is it's interfering with the malevolent artificial frequencies being forced on your neurological signal and your energetic signature, and can also be helpful for artificial frequencies being forced into and or onto your emotional body and your emotional body frequencies and energies. Okay, because they're really trying to interfere with the emotional bodies. With the technology, as invasive as they've been, as invasive as they have been with it, what do you think they're trying to do? Have you seen Minority Report? Right? That's an old film. Okay, what do you think that they're trying to do with the technology? So, if, we haven't had true benevolent intervention yet, so you're going to have to do the best that you can to protect yourself as best you can. If you are not in alignment with what they're trying to force with technology, and be trying to get to a place where you can fully be in command of your astral body and protect yourself and be constantly be strong enough to be overriding the artificial false frequencies or malevolent frequencies with your own frequencies. So your own organic, healed, benevolent frequencies that are yours organically need to be overriding the technology, need to be overriding the artificial frequencies that they're trying to force onto your neurological signal and energetic signature. You're going to need to be strong enough to do that until we can get this fucking fence turned off. And what they're trying to do is get everybody into the AI system. They're trying to, with that movie that I mentioned earlier, Minority Report, that's what they're, a large part of what they're trying to do with humanity. So, and they're really just wanting, they're trying, they know that the fence has to be turned off, but what they're trying to do is get everybody, as many as they can, into the system so they can turn it off, so they can turn off the fence. So there is a time element here. As I said, turning it off, there's things that they risk. Not turning it off, there's things that they risk. Okay? So we need to be on the winning end of that and be able to be in command of all your frequencies and vibrations, your astral body, your neurological signal and energetic signature, so that, we can be overriding the artificial frequencies, overriding the technology, overriding the AI system. Is kind of where, kind of where we're at. Yeah. And if you don't want to have some psychotic animated creature trying to control your brain and trying to control your emotions and trying to, do things that they shouldn't be doing because they shouldn't even fucking be here because they're dead. They're dead parasitic entities. They cannot sustain their own existence here without cannibalizing and parasitizing. So, if you're not on board with what they're trying to do to humanity, if you're not in alignment with that, if you don't want some fucking creature, some parasitic dead entity trying to, be all up in your business, right? And trying to force you to do things that you don't want to do and trying to force you to feel things that you don't want to feel, you know what I'm saying? Okay? So we need to always be working on it. Okay? The other thing with the, so I mentioned the magnets. The other thing would be caves. And I've realized now that is if there are any of these, like, people, there's some a percentage out there that believe in Agartha, believe that there's a benevolent race underground or below the surface or under the Antarctic or whatever. If there is, I realize why they're there. I realize why those beings went underground. To escape the fucking frequency weaponry. Which means the reptilians have been doing this here in this place for a very long fucking time. And they need to be fucking terminated. Because they're dead already. They just need to be moved from this place. They're dead already. They're parasites. They just need to, we need to be finding a way to remove them from this place. And terminating the artificial frequency fence that they've been using to help them stay here. And then that would remove the artificial overlay that's over the organic energetic field. Okay? I mean, it would really be helpful right now is if there was a larger true benevolent force assisting here. I've been forcibly shown what's going on this planet and the entities doing it, trying to force it. So being as how there's, and I'm sure there's other true benevolent beings that have also been forcibly shown what the deal is here. So as there are some of the inhabitants that know, there must be beings and or entities outside of this place or also in this place that fucking know what the truth of it is, what's going on here. And if they're claiming to be truly benevolent, why have they not intervened? Okay, why have they not done something to try and turn off the fence? Why have they not been informing benevolent beings here of what the fucking deal is? Telling beings in their channelings what the reptilians are doing with the frequency weaponry, what they're doing with the cloning, right? If you're, if there are true benevolent beings claiming to be truly benevolent and that are here to help, they should have been informing the inhabitants here of that information long ago so that we can better fucking protect ourselves. And so that we wouldn't have allowed AI to get to the point that it has. That we would have probably stopped much of the AI expansion early on if we had been told the truth of things, of how the AI system and the technology are being used on this civilization, on humanity. We would, I think, en masse not have allowed the AI to get to the point that it has. To be used, they're trying to use it for everything. So, yeah, if they're not informing, if they're not telling beings what the fuck's going on, they're suspect. If they're not trying to, and because the artificial frequency fence is being used to obstruct and regress universal laws and universal law correction, if they're not trying to fix that, since it would affect them and their race and their planets and their star systems as well at some point, if they're not doing anything about any of that, they're suspect. You have to always be looking at the logic of things the best that you can. And back to things that can be helpful are, okay, so I've mentioned the CBD, CBG, the magnets, the caves. That's where I was. So finding, definitely trying, if you can, find caves, hanging out in them, spending time in them. Even if it's just a hole in a rock with an overhang, it still might be worth spending some time in to try and help regulate, to try and cancel out their forced frequencies for a time, to allow you to come back to center, to allow you to regulate your own being, to allow you to feel your own true organic, authentic frequencies and vibrations, to feel your own being, to be remembering and feeling your true emotions, your true being, and how you feel about your being. And you're remembering your own types of thoughts and thinking patterns, and how you feel about yourself. We always need to be, because they're really forcing malevolent artificial frequencies onto ours, we really need to be spending as much time as we can trying to always, as much as we can, be in our own organic, healed, benevolent frequencies and vibrations. And that becomes really challenging when they're forcing malevolent artificial frequencies onto our own frequencies. Okay, so trying to find a cave to spend some time in is definitely going to be helpful. And then the other thing would be things that vibrate, meaning like head massagers or muscle massagers. If you can find some of those and use those, can be used on your chakras, front and back. And what's helpful is to be, when you're using it on your chakras, at the same time be imagining or envisioning anything malevolently forced into your chakras, whether that be emotions or energies or frequencies, be vibrating those to break them up. So you're using a muscle massager or a head massager on your chakras to vibrate apart, or vibrate apart and dissolve anything being forced that you didn't agree to, that you're not in alignment with, that you didn't consent to. So any kind of frequencies or energies or vibrations or what have you that's being forced into your chakras, not by you, right? That's being forced against the revocation of your consent. It's helpful to try and use a massager to try and help vibrate apart those frequencies and energies, to then either dissolve them out of your chakras and out of your field, out of your energy bodies and out of your field, or just dissolve them, vibrate them out, like being able to vibrate them so much that you're able to vibrate them out of you, right? Out of your organs, out of your chakra system, out of your energetic field and all of your energy bodies, and then out of your field. And then in addition to that, you're releasing them from the totality of your being, either back to the originating source, devoid of all harm to you and devoid of anything raped from you, or just releasing them, and they will also go back to the originating source. Just make sure you're stating devoid of all harm to you and devoid of anything raped from you. So those can be of assistance. And of course, the old standby aluminum foil, many layers of it, being formed around the head, can assist in very acute situations where you're being forcibly, where an entity is forcibly harming you, to try and protect your neurology and try to obstruct them from accessing your neurology to then access other parts of your being. You can always form several layers around the head, cut it to fit or whatever, and then put a beanie over it, right? If you have to still go about your business during the day and you have to go out and about, you can still form it around your head in some fashion and then throw a hat over it or a beanie over it, right? And then continue on about your business. The problem is, or the issue then becomes, as the AI system recalibrates. So the aluminum foil only works for a period of time before the AI system recalibrates and it starts penetrating the foil. So it's, you kind of always got to be switching up your tools to get the most out of them. Definitely the CBD with CBG, tinctures and gummies are going to should be a go-to for maintaining overall health of your neurology and your physical being. They do quite a bit to dampen the forced neurological intrusion of the technology. So personally, in my opinion, they're worth investing in if you can on a daily basis. And again, remembering that what they're using, these are just some key things. What they're using to harm you is not theirs. And much of when they're in those moments when they're really trying to, or really trying to go at you, what they've done is they've raped your frequencies and vibrations, and they're trying to wear them to try and induce fear in you. They're trying to use your stuff, your frequencies, your vibrations, to try and scare you. And again, once again, that's not their stuff, is it? No, it's not. So we need to, it's better to try and instantaneously realize that, they're trying to, it feels like they're trying to force some fear. What are they using to do that? Are they using my own frequencies and vibrations that they've raped to try and scare me? Are you scared of your own stuff? If the answer is no, then usually it's instantaneous that you realize that they're trying to use your stuff. And once you realize that they're trying to use your stuff and wear your stuff, it instantly reverts, those frequencies and energies instantly revert back to you. And then you watch them shrink because they're no longer wearing your stuff, right? You have to, there's a lot of what's being forced here. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of aspects to it. There's a lot to remember. And, if you can remember the key points, the key things, the big things, that will help you to make it through. That fucking frequency fence must be deactivated. Shut off. I know what the planetary bitch is trying to do, right? I can see what its proxies are doing, its offspring, right? I can see what they're doing. I can see what the planetary parasite's fucking doing. Trying to do this to another, trying to rape another civilization and trying to skip off into the fucking distance, into the universe with what it's raped, right? Trying to get into higher frequencies and dimensions to then try and start this horrific, abhorrent shit all over again on more, more benevolent beings. Now, I'm not for 100% saying that's fully accurate. But I'll just say, if that is the case, I don't want any part of it. And I don't want to, I definitely don't want to participate in it. And I don't want any of my stuff being raped from me. In addition to that, being raped from me and then being used to harm other benevolent beings and races. And I don't agree. I do know for a fact what the parasite that is this planet has told me prior or in the past. And I would imagine its goal has not changed. Now, none of you were privy to that. So for you, it's most likely subjective. But for me personally, I'm not going to participate in its goal. And I don't consent to the rape of my being by it, its proxies, or any of the technology. And I've refused consent and continue to refuse consent every day, all day. And so I would say, if you have not had that conversation with the planetary entity, you should probably do so. So you yourself can find out what its true goal is for humanity and for you. And if you are not in alignment with that, then you need to make that known. And be doing your best to then extract yourself from it, from the AI system, from the proxies, from the technologies, from the clones that it's using, the best that you can, and taking all your stuff out of the technology and out of all the clones, if you're not down for that shit. And obviously, I highly suggest that you be whatever beings that you think that you're communicating with that are benevolent, again, be asking them the hard, logical, critical questions that you absolutely need the answers to, because you need to know, because you're here and you're the one that's, one of the ones that's they're forcing the nasty on. So you're going to need to fucking know and how to best protect yourself. And that if you're wanting to be extract yourself from the AI system because you have free will, why aren't you? Why is there issue with that? And why is there still technology? If you've refused consent for that and tried to release all that, and you still find that there's still technology connected to you, why? Why is that still a thing? Why is that still being forced? If you've used your free will to release all that, what's going on there? Why haven't they, assisted humanity with removing the technology, removing the dead parasites that shouldn't fucking be here because they're dead, who have to cannibalize and parasitize off of real, alive, benevolent beings here because we're in a manifested creation that's vibrating and they shouldn't be here. So why are they still here, right? Why are they? Why has there been no correction as far as removing them since they're dead? Yeah, we really need to get to the truth of that. We really need to find out what's going on there. How is it that, dead entities are still running amok here? Like, is this fucking Pet Cemetery or what? Right? Like, what the fuck? Right? They're dead entities that are animated. No wonder there's so many fucking zombie movies. I think they're talking about them. They're talking about themselves. They're dead entities. They shouldn't be animated. And they shouldn't fucking be here. So, be asking whoever you think is helping you or assisting you what the fucking deal is. And why aren't they helping to remove the dead from manifested creation? We really need to figure out how it is we're going to remove them from here, because they're animated and they shouldn't be. And okay, so I mentioned those things. This matrix absolutely must be fucking imploded. Devoid of everything it's raped from benevolent life force energy and benevolent beings. We need to be doing our best to remain in our true, authentic, organic, alive, healed, benevolent frequencies, vibrations, and energies, light, sounds, energies, and resonances, and embodying the truth. Embodying the truth of what has been forced here. Or maybe there's a better way to say that, and I think I'm going to rephrase. I'll just say we need to be embodying the truth. So that when we are also exposed to universal laws, that we hold the truth. That we are resonating the truth. That those things were forced. That those things were against the revocation of our consent. That they were forced by dead entities. That the dead entities are trying to wear and use frequencies and energies that they raped against the revocation of consent of benevolent beings. The truth that they are in violation of all universal laws. We need to be the truth that is contradicting their lies. And definitely removing those things from your being that you don't want there, or that are being forced onto you against the revocation of your consent. So, and I've already mentioned those things in many recordings, including this one. So I'll try not to, I'm really working on trying not to repeat. And okay, so I think those are the things I wanted to bring up and mention. Or I will rephrase and just say those are the things I wanted to mention. And continue to try to be strong and do the best that you can. And to realize that their lies, cons, and deceptions are not you. And that they're trying to use harm to try and force you to believe their lies. And that what they're using is not theirs. And to try and put it in make sure that you're using your logic, that the fence has to be shut off, and that most likely what they're trying to use to induce fear into you or trying to harm you with is your stuff. So don't fear your own stuff, right? You just have to realize that they're trying to use your frequencies and energies that they raped to try and harm you or force fear. If you're not scared of your own stuff, then your frequencies and vibrations should automatically revert back to you. And that whatever else they're using isn't theirs either. So whatever they're using to try and harm is not theirs, is not fucking theirs. So it needs to, whatever they've raped, needs to be returned to the originating benevolent beings that those things were raped from. So they don't have anything to use. Right? So I'll leave that there and do the best that you can. And until next time.